Howdy everybody, welcome Geospatialers. I almost knocked that over. So I wanted to jump on today to do a little bit more of a deep dive with regards to the post that I put out the other day on why most survey businesses are broke. So in my, I'm only 26. In my lifetime of working with surveyors, working with the end users, so selling equipment to surveyors, selling equipment to the mining industry, to quarries, to the oil and gas, marine side, and as well now the last 10 years specializing in providing a service specifically to support you guys, because this is what I missed when I was at MDL, was having that support network of somebody who knew what they were talking about with regards to marketing and sales in the survey profession, but also within the equipment manufacturers and software houses. As you know, I posted this piece of content on why most survey businesses are broke, and I see this all the time. I also get surprised sometimes when I come across some of those guys that are actually doing it quite well, and hearing the conversations. It fascinates me all the time. It also intrigues me on how we can make this better, because my whole mission for Elaine Ball Limited is to up-level the survey profession and the geospatial industry with regards to sales, marketing and overall business. So making it better for everybody, because then everybody benefits. Anyways, so with regards to why most survey, I thought somebody was coming down the drive then, why most survey businesses are broke. So literally you are looking at the marketplace and you see what others are actually doing, and then you go and copy them. So they might be, you might notice what their price is and go, I'm going to have the same price. The manufacturers are slightly different, maybe similar sort of price bands, but surveyors are really bad at this. Sorry guys, but you are. So you copy the guy down the road. You might actually put in a few extra things in there where you might actually work a little bit harder, that sort of thing. But you don't actually share the value with the customer. You don't even actually take the time out to educate the client on why you, Joe Blog Surveys, is better than Josephine Surveys down the road. So, at the end of the day, guys, from a survey perspective, your competitors are mainly broke. So why do you want to copy them? Doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, so I want to just jump on and share some of these brilliant posts that people have actually posted. So thank you very much if you posted, I really appreciate it. Some really good here, really good information here. So for example, Michael put here, he's a photogrammetrist, can never say that word, photogrammetrist. Anyway, you know what I mean. Doesn't serve the profession well when surveyors undercut each other. You're in business to make money and get the job done for the client. The professional service is worth something. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So what I want to do today is just iron out these in a little bit more detail. So why most, this pen is not going to work. Survey businesses are broke. You see that all right? Yeah, you can see that all right. Okay. So we're going to do two things here. We're going to talk about the problem, and then we're going to talk about the solution. Okay, I want you to have a think about this. You see this all right? Okay, so doesn't serve the profession well when surveyors undercut each other. So the problem, undercut one another. So as Michael said, one of the issues is that you undercut each other. So what are you going to do about it? What can you do? What is the solution to change? I have to find another pen now, don't I? Another solution to change how you undercut each other. Firstly, stop it. You're not helping yourself. You're going to end up working as a busy fool and it's not getting anybody anywhere, and it's just going down the bottom. It's just snowballing down the bottom. So what's the solution? Undercutting one another is the problem. The solution is to, firstly, don't laugh. Stop it. Okay? Number one, stop doing it. It's not helping anybody. The solution for undercutting one another is to set your stall out. Okay? So set stall out. And what do I mean by that? Okay? You want to lay out what your pricing is. Yes, I said that. Put your pricing out there so people know. And for those guys in the States, different state sizes, I know you have issues with pricing, publishing pricing, but there's nothing stopping you saying you're doing a topo and you're doing X, Y, Z, and this is the estimated cost that it will cost you. There's nothing wrong with putting your prices out. And the thing is, as well, if somebody's cheaper than you, so what? So what? What do you provide? Why? Every single person, every single surveyor is unique. You're all unique. You have your own brand. And that's for another story. But you have another day. You have your own brand. Why do they choose you over the guy down the road? Okay, it's simple. But you need to communicate this. So, set stall out. That should say set stall out. But also communicate. Communicate value. How are you going to do that? How do you do that? Okay, this is where your marketing kicks in. It's all about build a brand. You're a brand. I'm talking to you. You as a person are a brand. People buy from you because they like you. This is where referrals come in from. People go to that next person because they had the good service. They had the right package, but they had to communicate that. It might have taken a while, which in the old days, it would have taken a lot longer. But now you've got the internet. When it works, like my computer doesn't work today because we have issues with Mac security. So communicating value. So this is where your content, so it could be blogs, stories, social media. This is where it all starts backing up, like you need to have a think about it. What you need to do from a solution to stop this undercutting. The first thing is just to stop undercutting each other. The second thing is that this turns into a huge subject, as you can probably realize. But one of the other things that you need to think about is publishing your pricing, communicating your value, and stop chasing the wrong market segment. So you'll have a group of customers who you'll be like, I want more of them. I want more of him. I want more of her. I want more of that type of company. Go after that type of company. This is what we class in marketing terms as market segmentation. You take your entire market and you go, right, these guys here have got a common problem. My solution that I can add value to will solve that problem so well. Okay? Right. What else have we got here? Simon came up with some really good, he gave me a huge list. So if you've seen this post, I'll stick it in this one. Huge list. So unlicensed industry. Now this is a hot topic. Unlicensed industry. Now for my American friends out there, you're licensed. These are unlicensed, registered, not registered. Whew. I think you're hiding behind a screen, personally. You're worried that somebody's come in who's a non-surveyor to take your work. I get it. But it goes back to building this brand, sharing the value. So I think the solution here, the first thing you need to do is get out of your head. Okay? Get out of your head. It's an excuse. This is an excuse. It's an excuse. Because why would you... It's great. I mean, I've been a chartered marketeer for donkey's years. What does it mean? I've done loads of exams with the Institute of Directors. I've done loads of exams with INSEAD in France. I've got mentors. Doesn't mean anything. As long as you're learning and improving what you do and you're focusing on your right market segment to your right customer base, then licensed or unlicensed actually doesn't mean anything. Challenge it. Challenge me. Want to know? Okay, so what else do we put here? Not understanding the value chain. Not understanding the value chain. Agree. Do your homework. Do your homework. Write it out. So almost value chain. Look at each part. Look at the value chain and understand it, and figure out how that has a knock-on effect and where you can plug the gaps. Is it communication related? Is it lack of knowing the person? Now that's where RFQs, tenders and proposals and the like come into. Because I see that one, that keeps popping up and rearing its ugly head all the time. But if you're going after something like the HS2, yes, there'll be a tick box. But the guys who run HS2 are not going to go with the cheapest guy down the road if they know that they can't deliver. So that goes back to then your proposal, what you're putting in place, what's laid out, your credibility of your business, your reference from your current customers. Have you worked with a large railway network before, as an example? For those Americans and Australians out there, HS2 is the big railway network that we're putting in the UK, which hasn't met the budget. But budget is made up. Governments lie about budgeting. It's made up. Budget is made up. That's for another conversation. So, stuck in, build it and they will come. Or we have always done it the way mentality rather than the discovery and need. Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that, Simon. Yeah, we've always done it this way. This is how we are. This is the problem. Now why we're in this mess with regards to recruitment. Now we hear this all over with every different subject. Oh, we can't find people, great people. There's 8 billion people in the world, guys. 8 billion people. You can train them. But then you get, but they might get stolen. Somebody else might poach them. Why would you leave a great boss? Why would you leave a great company? Leadership. Leadership goes up out there. Okay. Allowing survey to remain poorly paid and a bottom feeder. We are all guilty of this. Totally agree. Totally agree with it. But again, bearing in mind, I'm focusing here on the land survey. Do we want to call it a market? The profession as a whole. Not a market, but a profession. Hydrography, oceanography, that sort of stuff goes in a slightly different course. They don't have issues with necessarily with recruiting people. That's another whole ball game. But poorly paid, not getting these people up the ladder, not having some kind of organisation that people know where they're going when they start to scale. Not pushing back on commoditized procurement approaches. Yep, not getting their elbows out at the table and demanding better understanding of accuracy, information clarity, and consequence of paying peanuts. Consequences of paying peanuts. So yeah, absolutely spot on. Right, this one's a good one. So Rob says, the issue can't be solved by those businesses alone. Procurement officers have a lot to answer for. A healthy market of providers enables those vendors to focus on quality and delivering to requirements rather than focusing on costs. But procurement always focuses on the lowest price, meaning businesses who want to win the work Focus on that and not on other aspects such as delivering solutions, superior solutions. Vendors have to take their share of their blame. Blaming someone else, you can't do that. But the responsibility to change the situation has to come down to all parties for the better of all. Okay, so going back to my HS2 thing, at the end of the day, you could put in the lowest price, but will you deliver what you're supposed to do and not go bust in the meantime? And that's probably what actually has been happening with the HS2, why it's blown the cost base out the water, because survey companies might have gone bust along the way. So maybe that's another argument for looking like what we're doing. But personally, it's going back to doing your research and making sure that you're focusing on the right type of client that you want to work with, and that supports what you're doing as a business, not just going after everything. So if you feel that when you work with these tenders, these RFQs, these big companies, and they're going through all these checklists, and you feel it's unfair, why the hell are you going after it in the first place? Change your way of your thinking. Go after something else. Go after a different market segment that's going to actually, the investment that you've put into your business is going to then complement that customer base. Ted replied to that conversation. He says, I'd say selling on value is the key. Totally agree with you there. Yet it's not as easy as it sounds. First, you might understand and communicate the value proposition of the service you are offering. This requires you to understand and look at your services from the perspective of your client. Correct, Ted? Vendors have to take their share of the... Oh, sorry, I've missed a bit there. Value proposition of the service you are offering. This requires you to understand and look at your services from the perspective of the client. Within your proposition must be the value of your capabilities. Totally agree. And this goes back to the tendering as well, your capabilities. Then it is perfectly legitimate to point out the potential penalties incurred if the service is not properly executed. Correct. Your client should understand that your capabilities are of value and will avoid potential huge costs associated with poor performance. In the end, you are still selling on price. You just have to redefine and present the cost argument more effectively. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's getting across to your customer what is included in what you offer. And being able to deliver it, because yes, it might be great. I need this work for my team. But if there's no margin in it, what's the point of working for it? Okay, I have to lay off my guys. Yes. So go after the customers that are going to pay the difference, the margin, that you're gonna get paid for what you need. I feel like I'm beating myself around the head here on this one. So Chris says, it appears that small survey companies are now treated the same as freelance survey personnel. It's tough to work out how to get out of this pit when price is considered first and quality is secondary. Very interesting. He's come back from a hydrospatial. He's a hydrospatial advocate. So what do I say? Geospatial, hydrospatial. Yeah. Okay. So you have small survey companies. So these guys are the technicians. They're out in the field. So they could be 2 to 5 people, something like that. So they're going out in the field. They're doing the work. So they're still the technician, as Michael Gerber always says in his book, which we are currently going through at the moment. Really good read, by the way, especially getting your team, understanding the whole technician, entrepreneur and manager perspective. So yeah, so you have small company mentality, then you have your one-man band. But again, these two are different. You can treat them the same, but again, they go back to they are different. Your one-man band's going out there, he's actually just a glorified, it's his hobby. It's actually it's actually costing him a fortune because he's now running for himself, he's working for himself, which is fine, instead of doing the same thing and working for the business. That's fine. He's going to do that, or she's going to do that. This person who's got a small team has a different setup, more costs definitely. But again, then you have more value because you can share, well, we can do this and this in X amount of time, whereas your one-man band is not going to necessarily do it in that amount of time, depending on what the application is. But it is tough. But again, it's going back to your brand, building a brand and building that value proposition. So I would say that. I think I replied to that. What did I apply? Okay, yes, I hear you, Chris. It comes down to building a brand, there you go, and educating the client. From an oil and gas perspective, hydrographies, oceanographies are usually working on big, complicated projects, therefore the margins are much bigger. In your experience, so I did ask him a question, how do you see these businesses? Do they struggle or are they much healthier? Chris has replied, I think many of the small companies struggle unless they have either unique or innovative services, such as inspection, 3D visualization, or combined with geospatial services. In many cases, the client has a very fixed work scope, so award of contract is primarily based on a firm price for the job, and sometimes that includes taking on the weather risk, which could make or break a small company, whereas oil and gas companies may have relatively small inspection that could be farmed out to several companies. Offshore wind development tend to last longer, and the larger survey companies take the lion's share of those contracts. Yeah, I agree. Mike says, Elaine, good question, and the right one. Chasing to the bottom, there are only two options: do it better with premium price or deliver it cheaper with lower price. Unless you are a market leader with economies of scale, the latter isn't possible. Who in your what's he put here? Something market wants a cheap survey. Well, you don't want to work for cheap people, do you? Your approach to competition is right. Porter's five forces, yes. You remember this from my course roughly 25 years ago. Yes. I did 25 years ago. I'm only 26. So, yeah. To provoke the thinking, the three topics most probably needed are strategy and marketing planning, correct? Include price management and sales negotiation skills. The latter is key, and I bet few of you have ever had any sales training. Oh my God, this is a whole subject that I have got to do loads more on. Sales training. I love sales. Sales is amazing. But again, surveyors have no marketing training and they have no business training, and they definitely don't have sales training. Let me know if you've done sales training, because I'd be very intrigued to see if you actually practice what you preach now you've done some sales training. So, the latter is key, and I bet few of you have ever had any sales training. Two good books to start with, yeah. Roger Dawson's Secret of Power Negotiation and Harry McDivitt's Value-Based Pricing. One of the few of us who understand pricing. My interpretation follows: price has absolutely nothing to do with the costs. Cost plus is clearly ridiculous. Increase your price by 5% and nothing will happen except you will double your profits. This requires differentiation, which in your sector is not difficult, correct? You can easily differentiate. I've slightly gone off course here, haven't I? But yeah, you as surveyors can easily differentiate what you do because you're all unique. 80% of the reason to purchase is in the delivery of the client service. Most surveys probably come up with the same answer. Price has to reflect the value that the client perceives in your offering. Have you conducted quantitative market research on your client's perceptions? Not quantitative, have you done qualitative, not quantitative research? There is another phenomenal book, The Three Rules, Rainer and Ahmed, that provides it all. We don't make up this stuff. They are better before cheaper. These rarely compete on price. Revenue before cost. There are no more rules. Spot on. Have a read of that. Okay, next one. Market. So Mark says, market forces versus perception of the end deliverable are hard to gauge. I've tested pricing models for 3 years. There is a tolerance, but that tolerance is only if there is no clarity of the value proposition compared to other providers. Correct. The buyer can't or hasn't been presented clearly enough. Correct. So so from a sales perspective, say you've done your proposal. This is not a tender or anything. This is actually working with a customer and actually getting them on the phone or a demo. You've done your research, you've asked your probing questions, you've got down to the issue, you then give them an estimated price and what you'll deliver. Then you've come up against what you think is objections, but they might just be complaints. They might just be, I'm annoyed about this. The buyer hasn't been presented clear enough with the difference, so it's the hasn't been presented with the value proposition. So if you, and this is why marketing is so important for you as a surveyor and building your brand. If the market that you're focused on, who knows you because you've been communicating through socials, through direct messaging, which is prospecting, through email newsletters, they get to understand what you're about. Okay? If you get to then the call, the demo, and they turn you down, it's too expensive. One, you're not digging deeper. I get it. I get it's expensive. I hear what you're saying. What else is an issue? Understanding the unspoken rule, okay? The unspoken objection is what you want to find out, because price is not the issue, ever, unless they're really broke, but then why are they in business? You want to figure out if you've given them enough value. Have you communicated enough to them beforehand, before you've actually got them on the phone? So this is where your sales training comes in. Okay, and this is what Mark's on about. Okay, so what did I reply? I replied, here, Mark's spot on. Yeah. But how many business owners know how to do this? And then Mark's replied, some do, some don't. Oh, politician answer. I guess that's just the nature of business overall. Either one has the skill to do or seeks advice, expertise. We can't be experts at everything in business, correct? But those who survive, find a way. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons when I was at MDL, I was very conscious of being in a family bubble. So I was always learning. The staff used to come back and be laughing at me because I'd come back and I'd present them a new book, The Energy Bus, or something like that, because I was conscious of, like, you only know what you know. So, but every time I hired in these people, these strategists, marketeers, I had to explain and train them in, like, survey language and geospatial terms, and it drives me mad. Still to this day, there was only a few of us around, Kevin Colby being one of them, in the States, in Denver. If you don't know Kevin, make sure you get to link up with him. He's great. Me and him are going to be talking at Intergeo this year. John had a really good one. He says, this is a very complicated subject. It is and it isn't, depending on how you look at it, but that's something else I'll come out to. So the first question that needs to be discussed is, what are we selling? Correct. Time, the total of personnel and equipment hours, deliverables, drawings, survey data, models, results, projects, and that get completed on time and on budget because they were founded on concise and accurate survey information. The answer to the above depends on the relationship between the client and the surveyor. Agree. That I agree with. going after your target market, your target audience, not everybody in that particular market. So if you do a lot of work with roads, for example, do you go after every civil engineering company? No, you go after the ones specifically on, say, bridges, or a specific problem that you know you can solve. So it goes back to that, a new relationship. So making sure that you have that network. You're going on LinkedIn, you're going to find these people. You're going to these places where they hang out. You are getting them signed up. If you don't know where they are, you do your research. You find out who influences these people. And then you get in touch with these guys. You find out what they read, where they hang out, where do they have children, that sort of thing. And this is why your demographics and understanding your avatar or your buyer persona is so crucial. So what else has it got here? A few projects have been completed successfully. The results are often not completely understood, but some goodwill has been established. So again, yeah, and also sharing what your customers actually think and building that relationship, so they give you a testimonial, and especially those little video testimonials. So don't be afraid to ask your customer, do you mind if we just jump on Zoom now and I ask you some questions about what we've done, how you've seen it. Now, if you look at my testimonials for the Geospatial Marketing Academy, I have the full, they're uncut, so to speak, because I want you to see what everything Polly says, or Ella says, or Andrea says, or that sort of thing. So I find that very important. Several projects completed, trust and understanding has been developed, and the relationship is all about outcomes, not hours, correct? So if the client then knows, sorry mate, I'm putting my prices up, but he knows that you will look after him, you're not going to dump him in the shit, they're more likely to come back to you. So those guys that you're actually going out to private customers and getting those contracts. So, I mean, I replied back to John and I just sort of said, I disagree, it's complicated, okay? I think we as people overcomplicate stuff. It shouldn't be complicated. Goes back to that, you know, we were talking about the, in fact, I think I wrote it here. Yeah, it's going back to that customer journey. So this being where most of you guys are, the buying journey. This is where most of you guys are when you're selling. This is the pre-buying journey. So this is the bit where the problem's unknown to the customer. The customer starts doing some research. What do they find? Oh, they've come across you, hopefully, because you've done some content and you've produced it. And then they can find that information. Okay, Robert, what's Robert put here? So good question and great debate. I'd say that root cause is that the profession isn't licensed or regulated. So another one that talks about the licensed or regulated. And I get it, I get that, but I think going back to what I said earlier, it's also what's in your head. And I think the industry, or should I say the survey profession is changing. So you as surveyors are going to have to pivot, I'm afraid, because the manufacturers will still come out with new products and best ways of doing things for non-surveyors. That's just the way it is. For example, I'll give you an example for marketing professionals. We were at Social Media Marketing World in March, me and Erin, in San Diego, and we went and looked on the AI. We went and sat in on the AI session. There was about 1,000 people in this session. Each session was about 400 people, but this was packed. And he sort of asked us, who's scared of AI? Who's scared of what could happen to marketing jobs? And quite a lot of people put their hands up. To me, I'm like, embrace it. Give me it now. Let's see it. So this chat GPT that everybody's on about, it's going to change the way marketeers work. It's going to, if you're not following it, if you are not embracing it, marketeers will disappear. Those marketeers will disappear because they're not keeping up with it. And you as surveyors are going to have to do the same thing. So as stuff comes through, new technology that's going to bring in non-surveyors, and if you're not marketing and building that brand to your target audience, the target audience is not going to choose you. They're going to choose the guy down the road because he is cheaper, because they don't understand the difference. It's that simple. Think about it. what's he put here? This is really good. So what's he put? Yeah, so he's put there, profession isn't licensed or regulated. This is a UK guy. This then allows anyone to establish a survey company. I am sure everyone is happy to provide quotations in a competitive tender situation, but a lot of clients who commission the surveys don't interrogate or stipulate what experience, PLL cover, accreditations, tendering survey companies have. So he's come from Green Hatch. Green Hatch have a £10 million PLL, or that's the insurance cover. So do I actually. And I have a consultancy. Our premium have to be factored into our fees, correct, along with other overheads such as training, health and safety costs, bespoke officers, IT, technical, blah, 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 blah. Yep, get that. Our day rates are therefore higher than some other companies, so we are reliant on having loyal clients based and hopefully a good reputation. So actually, even though Robert is on about regulation, what's the core thing that he's just said? The core thing is loyal clients. So what does that mean? He's built a reputation where his clients keep coming back because they're an easy sell straight away, better than going out and getting new customers. He's built the reputation because he's provided value. They feel it, they see it, they hear it. It's in probably his marketing collateral. It's probably when he produces a proposal, he's probably got lots of references. This is missing with most of you guys, okay? And why most of you guys are broke. Okay, who else? So Zolt has put, that's one thing that surveyors undercut that's one thing that surveyors undercut each other to stay afloat. So yeah, so just trying to be in business. What the hell are you doing it for if you're trying to do that and make no money? Which ultimately pushes companies to cut corners, i.e. quality. The problem is that everybody wants to save on cost, and surveyors, engineers, which usually have only after effect years later in an instant, usually with a big boom, for 4 to 5 times the price of a good survey. So what's he put here? Let me just reread that. The problem is that everybody wants to save costs on surveyors, engineers, which usually have only after effect years later in an instant, usually with a big boom of 4 to 5 times the price. I'm not quite sure what he's put there. The problem is that while every contract has details about responsibility, these never get triggered, so people can get away with the crap, and I don't see this will change in the future. Not if you're not, my battery's about to die. Not if you're not communicating your value. See what I mean, guys? This is coming back to value every time. What else have I put in here? So the marksman, do more than you've priced at every turn, correct? And name your price when you return, or is it a stitch in time saves 9? Matthias, land surveyors act sometimes stupid, correct? Sorry to say. Every time surveyors acquire new technology, they pass on lower costs one-on-one to the customer rather than changing the speed advantage as a benefit to the customer. 100% agree. It's amazing how many of you guys buy Pegasus, like a Pegasus mobile mapper, and still charge the same amount of money because the guy down the road does. Thomas, value is in the eye of the spender, correct? Race to the bottom is not the same as a rising tide raises all boats. Keeping the pro in professional takes R&D, training, education, and improving constantly. Happy return clients are immeasurably easier to satisfy and maintain constantly. Absolutely, totally agree with that. Dan's put, I think a lot of this depends on the type of work one does and the type of client you have. Yes, but you can segment that depending on who you're actually focusing on. And also if you're going for tenders, going for RFQs. What else did he put here? If you cater to clients who need a survey one time, They have no way to differentiate between two companies many times other than price. They believe all surveyors will do the project exactly the same way, with the same results, the same time deliverables. If you work for repeat clients, they start to see for themselves the value that you can bring by providing a positive experience from initial contact to delivery. You have to make them know, like, and trust you enough. They value matters, not price. 100% agree on that. Kevin, the survey provision covers a wide range of clients along with a wide range of surveyors. Betty, hey. I think the farmer's here. But behave. The average age of a surveyor in Alabama is around 60 plus. Yep. The retired independent works as he wishes and has no need for technology. The younger surveyor love the technology but have little to no understanding of the boundary. 30 to 40-year-old surveyors have chosen their niche to work for large firms and have turned their back on the boundary for the most part. Rural owners of small tracts of land still need surveyors. Large firms often refuse to do the work. Some small independents will set some corners, take the money and run. We surveyors protect the property rights of everyone, not just the commercial client, not just the engineering firm, not the surveyors within the city limits of the metropolitan areas. The last 3 years have been great for the surveying industry. Jumps in technology, jumps in profits. I love that. Go Kevin. Would love to see surveyors at large firms take some of those huge profits and enter the rural surrounding areas and complete some $800 boundaries. Yeah, there's another area to think about, the small lower costs in those rural areas in the States, and how people are actually, there's a whole market there for somebody. You know, it's just how you then set yourself up. You don't need the latest and fanciest technology. Get away with smaller, other secondhand stuff, you know, or lower equipment. They just want to find out where their boundaries are, where they put the fence, where they put the garage, that sort of thing. Stuart, the industry itself is to blame. Not only have prices been driven down by the sheer competitiveness of the market, but there is such a lack of regulation that anyone can set up as a surveyor. Mindset, guys, mindset. In this country and the change, so where is he? He is based, he must be based in the UK. It also doesn't help that the manufacturers of survey equipment have been on the drive to simplify the industry, marketing their tools as easy to use, implying that anyone can do it. The amount of architects I know who have purchased cheap scanners, thinking they don't need to use surveyors anymore, is ridiculous. It needs a major overhaul with stricter regulations in place, else it really won't be worth operating. I do totally disagree with that. I get it. I understand your thinking, but it's going back to mindset. Oh, we've always done it that way. You know, and yes, architects will go and purchase scanners and they will try and do it themselves. You're always going to get it. You're always going to get it. You've just got to set out your stall and who your market is and who your audience you're attracting and what value you can provide and produce something that your customer can understand. So that's why having regular communication to your market is so important, that they understand what you do, what your message is. I think from a manufacturer point of view, MDL, we produce tools to make jobs simple. My dad produced this borehole deployable cavity scanner called CALS, Cavity Auto Scanning Laser System. It was deployable via borehole into a void. There is still nothing on the market today, nothing that can compete with it. It's extremely hard to make. It took Graham, my dad, and all the amazing engineers that we had at MDL to make this thing amazing. We had Chinese copying us left, right and centre. Still couldn't get it as small as we had it. But it was a tool. It wasn't just for a surveyor. It was for the mines to use so they could do the survey job and figure out where the hell this void was. So they didn't, it was a health and safety, a lot of the things come down to it. Didn't fall through a ceiling, that sort of thing. So I think this is just something that everybody's holding on to. Stateside, things are a little bit different. Same with in Australia, a little bit different. But it's again how you position yourself in the market and what you're going to do. Chris Jackson, the survey industry is a shambles. And he's UK based. People charging less than companies did in the late 90s. Yep. People wonder why sectors see the industry as a joke. At the end of the day, multi-million pound projects are being designed from what survey companies deliver, and massive re-education is needed, correct? So you guys, as surveyors, need to educate your audience. It's nobody else's fault, it's your fault. You need to do it. You need to invest your time in marketing, in business coaches, in business skills, in educating your target market. You're not just a technician, you are a business person. So you need to re-educate yourself. Trent, because that's what the mentor did. Don't get a survey mentor, so it must work. Monkey face, oh my God. We have to break the mold, and I think we finally are, but it's still years away. He's based in the state in Nevada. John, yes, unfortunately we see this all too often and wouldn't have a business if we followed this model. Gaining and keeping those customers, the value, what you offer, and don't just look at the cheapest price. So yeah, so going back to the value proposition, communicate it, going back to emails, social media on a consistent basis. This is all top of funnel stuff, educating, brand building. Going back to that. Jamie, exactly. Stupid is as stupid does. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that session. It's 40 odd minutes long. I want to just go over it and explain some of the things and my thinking. Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know if you would like any other things, any other questions answering, and I will keep debates going because I absolutely love it. And yeah, till next time.